Get your weekly Frank fix. Listen to the show as it happens on Saturday morning from 8 until 11 with more music and fewer ads with the Absolute Radio app.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. I'm with the comedian Alan Cochrane and the popular author Emily Dean this morning.
Oh, nice.
You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, and email the show via the Absolute Radio website. Wow,
Still
good
novel,
guy.
isn't it? Still novel, the old Insta.
He holds that word in front of him,
Yes.
slightly alarmed by it.
Yeah.
Don't you, darling?
I do. You know, every morning before this show begins, we have a discussion about stool heights.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not a biological thing. It's
No, it's not very
we're
medical.
talking about how everything's the set, the desk in here. If you press a button, it goes higher or lower. But the stool is still a little behind technically. In that, it's one of those where you have to. I don't know what you do.
Yeah.
I don't do it.
It's manual, yeah.
Yeah, it's manual.
manually shifted.
Yeah.
And I think I'm getting a little bit higher every week, as
You really
Pete
are.
Doherty once said. And, yeah, I'm ending up. I think the way I see me doing this show is, do you know these sort of the uncle in Mary Poppins who's on the ceiling and can't come down?
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's how it's going to end up.
Yeah, I see that as your role.
Be a great publicity shot, though.
Be good.
The problem is, I mean, I appreciate perhaps they don't want to be bored by this stuff, but I have to say, the higher the desk, the colder it is at knee level. So I've now taken to wearing a coat as a sort of blanket.
I'm
on my
sorry. I'm
knees.
sorry it's come to that. I mean,
It's quite
honestly,
Queen and Prince Philip, though.
It sounds
Nice.
like some sort of wartime freedom fighters, or sort of like Lord Haw, who wasn't.
Oh,
I
yeah.
suppose he was a freedom fighter on the other side. Never heard him being described as that. Oh, my dad used to go on and on about Lord Haw. Couldn't
Did he?
forgive him.
Was it? Oh, really?
Don't know much about Lord
He seemed
Haw-Haw.
like he bore a bit of a grudge, though, your dad, to be fair.
Lord Haw was.
He sounds like a laugh.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
I'm glad you chose that option. I think he was Irish, but I think he'd lived near where we came from. But he used to broadcast on behalf of Nazi Germany, saying things like,
Oh, dear, there we
saying
go.
things like, come on, give up. You know, he got no chance.
All right.
And he used to name factories near to us, apparently, because he knew the area. And so we're going to drop a bomb right down Albright and Wilson's chimney, he said, that'll wipe out the whole area. Anyway, the next track... yeah,
I don't like the sound of Lord Haw-Haw
No,
now.
I think he was hanged as a traitor at the
Oh,
end.
was he?
There you go. That's that's radio for
First
you.
link, traitors.
That's the number.
Brilliant.
Not just traitors.
The
Hung
first-
as a
I
traitor.
love this show.
The first in our series of radio stars of the past.
Could be a long one.
Why don't you just give up?
Shamed radio stars.
I'll tell you one of the
Yeah, how long have
things.
you got?
One of the things I love about working at Absolute Radio, and there are many things,
Yeah.
is that you do get some free stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And
There's no lift, but
I
you
don't
get
know if
free
you know,
stuff.
but
Good point.
we're owned by
Bauer.
Bauer, yeah, the German company, and they also make they make Mojo and Q, are two fantastic music mags. So I get those.
Strange
free.
ad.
Yeah, but if they are free, I really look. Oh God, I can wallow in Mojo. It's like a warm bath.
He really loves it.
Oh,
It does, doesn't it?
but I arrived this morning and a whole new twist on the freebies thing. They had free salt.
What?
Free salt in
Are you
reception.
sure it was salt?
It was definitely
Okay.
small sachets of free sea salt. And I thought, what?
Do you
Is
know
this
what?
what it's like doing radio in Eastern Europe? Hey, Vladimir, we have free salt this morning. It's a bribe, don't touch it.
Next week, toilet paper.
But how did this happen, that we've got free salt? I mean, that's
And
not-
also, as you've often said on this show, you are not in favour of the condiments.
No, well, I'm a Catholic.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I must investigate it further. I'll ask our producer during this break.
Frank Skinner on the radio.
We've had some news in on Lord Haw-Haw.
Oh, Lord Haw-Haw alert.
Okay. Dear Frank, Emily and the eminent Cockerel.
Thank you.
The eminent Cockerel.
I'll take that.
Lovely. Lord Haw-Haw went to my old school, Dulwich College.
I used to live near it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Although the school, that's why he called you eminent, the school denies all knowledge of this fact and has removed all mention of him from their history.
Oh,
Ah,
I was going to say poor Haw-Haw.
yeah.
Interestingly, they've also adopted this policy with another famous former pupil, Bob Monkhouse, which I feel is a little harsh.
That is. You can't bracket Bob Monkhouse with Lord Haw-Haw. No. Lord Haw-Haw was a fully fledged traitor. And I find...
You don't often hear people called traitors in the modern era, do you?
No, well, I went... I had for a time, I had a doctor who was posh, at a level of poshness where it does feel like they've got some sort of mental problem.
Right.
It's when the eyes are permanently closed.
And people say to me, "How didn't you know that Tara Palmer Tomkinson was on drugs when she was on your chat show those years ago?" But with the posh, the very posh, it's so hard to tell because anyway. He wrote a prescription for me, and I said, they make this joke about the handwriting of doctors, but yours is really nice. He said, yes, when I did handwriting at school, I rather tried. He said, in fact, we were taught handwriting by Traitor Blunt's brother. Meaning Sir Anthony Blunt, the Traitor Blunt. I was like someone from Treasure Island.
I'm very much enjoying bringing back treason and traitor.
Exactly.
to commercial radio.
I don't know what you'd have to do now to qualify for that.
Oh.
The bar has gone way
almost impossible to imagine.
But anyway, we found one this morning, and I find when you pick a haw-haw or a prickly pear...
Oh,
and you
lovely.
get a saw paw. Anyway, yes, exactly.
Very good.
So we've got
We've
to the bottom
established
of...
where the salt was from.
Yeah, Saltgate, we've got the answer to.
Yeah, are we allowed to name the brand? Is that okay?
so.
I'm just checking.
Well, they're
with
doing
the
an
producer.
official sponsorship
Great,
with
okay.
absolute... We probably have to name the brand or we lose 10% of our wages.
Oh, no, we can't have that happen.
No,
I can't.
I think that's another thing we can't have happen.
I've absolutely lost it over I rather try.
Andy Bush is doing a search for... our colleague Andy Bush on this station is doing a search for Britain's best fish and chips.
So I thought, we've said on this show before, you have, Frank, you thought that was every fish and chip shop because they've all have that hanging
They've
up.
all got a thing saying best fish and chip shop award from so-and-so.
We went to
pork pies. You can't buy a pork pie that hasn't won an award for best pork pie.
That's a good point.
I'd nominate the Yangtze in Charlton Kings in Cheltenham, personally, which is also a Chinese takeaway. And some people say, once it's a Chinese takeaway, you never get nice fish and chip.
Yeah, funny that.
Try the Yangtze. They got the lot.
Have they?
Yeah. Ah, yeah. And the old elderly relative, you can see through the beaded curtain.
Oh, yeah.
Sitting there. Oh, I love that. I do love that.
Oh, I love those beaded curtains in the takeaway.
Yeah, they've. Does anyone have them
Do you
in their
like a
homes
beaded
anymore?
curtain or multicoloured nylon strip?
I mean, I know what you mean. They've both got their... I like the beaded curtain because they remind me of goldfish excrement.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
On that subject, when you're writing, like tappy tap in the keyboard.
Yeah.
Yes, we
I
know.
don't call that writing. I call that typing.
Right. When you're typing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I will open a bracket to put an extra thought in, be it an email or some, prose.
Yeah.
And then in the middle of that thought, I'll have another thought and open another bracket. And then when I read it back, I go, you've opened too many thoughts here.
Oh, no. I mean, I blame the parentheses.
Yeah. Very good.
Absolutely wonderful exchange.
Very good. We had an email in entitled Scouse Delight. Dear Frank, Emily and Alan, I'm hoping Alan picks this up as part of his deep dredging Friday night trawl. For the people who sometimes wonder if I'm in on a Friday night doing that, it's just that I read the ones that arrive on a Friday night.
Exactly.
I trawl through the old emails.
I've known you here at texting me at 3 o'clock in the morning saying I found a good one.
Well, that was... I mean, I did
I'm hoping you're doing the email troll when you send me those texts.
So much different text, actually, but I'd rather you didn't discuss it on air.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Anyway, we've had an email. They say you should never meet your heroes, but I had the absolute pleasure. I try not to read praise, but this is full of it.
That's the new channel on Absolute Pleasure.
And what time is that on? That'll be the Friday night trawl.
What would the Absolute Pleasure be?
Well, I think we know, Frank.
No,
you know it's a breakfast show.
It's a music broke, so it'd have to be songs that represented pleasure.
Okay, what about
happy?
Well, like fairground music, maybe.
Maybe they only played songs with the word pleasure in the title. For Your Pleasure by Roxy Music.
It's a bit limited, Frank.
I know. I mean, they'd have to abandon the no repeat guarantee.
I just have songs associated with, like, maybe circus or fairground music. Might be a bit strange. You know, like,
yeah, Absolute Circus. Yeah. And then, oh, what a circus, oh, what a show. And then send in the clowns. It'd be easy, Absolute Circus.
Circus. There must be Lely the Elephant. I mean, there's loads of options.
There's tons.
Anyway.
Sorry, Alan.
This person, I think a chap, saw you at St George's Hall in Liverpool last Saturday, 2nd of March. The show was excellent.
Oh, no, don't do all that.
I'm trying not to do the praise, but there's quite a lot. Lucky enough to have a bit of banter with Frank throughout. When picked on a couple of times, he then says a few jokes that he especially enjoyed, but I'll keep those quiet because I think they might be spoilers.
Yeah.
After thinking the night couldn't go any better, Frank
I don't want to hear the end of this email, OK?
He risked it to mingle with us commoners whilst walking to his car. Worried I'd get a Ringo Starr-related, no, you're all right. But Frank kindly posed for a photo and autographs. Perfect round-off. Thank you, Frank. To use my favourite Skinner-related sign-off, Cheese then, Ross, the dumb one who travelled from Lincolnshire. Is that what you called him?
It's a bit cruel, Frank.
It was. A bloke did come all the way from Lincolnshire for a gig in Liverpool.
Yeah, it's weird that, isn't it?
It's
I think it's very nice.
It was lovely.
And he was very impressed. I had to delete lots of praise then as I was reading that out.
Well, that place I played, St George's Hall, Charles Dickens played there a few times.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah, it's one of his favourite northern gigs, apparently.
Does this count as my work with them all when I say that about Frank?
So when you say played there...
Well, they'd just put a desk on stage and he'd write, and about a couple of thousand people would turn up and watch him. Every now and again, he'd look up and go, trust me, that was a brilliant bit.
You guys are going to love this.
Yeah, exactly.
You can just hear
in a year and a half.
The scratch of the quill.
And I used to when, if he did any robbing out, you'd get whoo from the crowd and stuff like that. They loved the refill moment. I suppose he had a feather. Did he have a feather? Would he have had a feather?
Dickens. Text in on 81215. Did Dickens have a feather?
What would he have written with Dickens?
I'd call it quill.
No, but he was post-quill, wasn't he?
Post-quill.
Post-quill, pre-biro. He's in that terrible...
definitely not biro.
That terrible no-pens land in between.
Yeah, be a
What
feather.
did Charles Dickens write? Anyone who saw him at the St George's Hall... He probably had a really big one then, so you could see it from the... You know those pens you get at the seaside? He probably had one of those for the cheap seats.
A sort of gladiator his hand pen. Dickens alive.
Somebody could sell after as well. Sign.
Oh, there was merch.
But then again, what would he sign it with? Oh, so complicated.
There was a lot of merch.
Yeah.
There was some old curiosity shop. There was some lovely branded merch for that. Little T-shirts.
Apparently came out for an encore and read Little Dorrit. I mean, it's too much. They don't want that much for an encore.
Frank Skinner on the radio.
So yes, that, by the way, when they did a big refurbishment on St George's Hall, someone was telling me, and Ringo Starr did a gig on the roof.
Oh.
there.
Really?
So I said to the audience, did anyone actually see Ringo Starr's gig on the roof here? And the bloke said, yes, it was very good. And I thought, that's a nice heckle, that, isn't it? Because he hasn't gone the whole hog and used, some sort of abusive word. It was a very reasoned and balanced review.
Yeah.
I think roof work is often difficult. I mean, it's a theme. There was Brian May, of course, on top of Buckingham.
And then the Beatles, of course.
The Beatles. No,
And the Guys in Strange Ways.
Oh, yeah. Did they actually do music, though?
No, they were just...
They just had some banners, but they were
sat about,
They were
really.
rather tatty looking.
But there is a tradition of roof gigs. I'd say the Let It Be one is still the tops.
Well, hang on, Ringo didn't do that after that Let It Be one, did he?
Oh, yeah, many years after.
Embarrassing.
Back to the roof. But he said, OK, back to the roof. I imagine him
Only
saying.
up there on the roof.
So anyway, I stayed over at the Hope Street Hotel in Liverpool, which is right in the
That's not the Beatles themed one, is it?
no.
No, that's all the others.
Everything in Liverpool is a little bit Beatles.
Well, no, that Beatles themed one is the Let It Be suite. I mean, everything
Oh,
is
yeah.
Beatles themed.
No,
Anyway,
okay.
No,
Hope Street.
I wouldn't mind staying there actually, but
Hang...
no,
Free stuff.
no, it's fringe benefits.
No.
The Beatles Hotel.
Lovely.
Anyway, in the middle of the night, as I think the piano man once said.
Yes.
Oh, in the middle of the night.
I go walking in my sleep.
So, in the middle of the night, I was awoken by a full fireworks display. I mean...
Really?
And I don't mean coming from some distant, like Stanley Park or something. I mean, it sounded like it was in the street. It was really adjacent and very, very loud. But it wasn't like... I get this a bit at home. Because I live next to a big patch of parkland type thing. And when I was a kid, you get bangers in the street, in the night. I don't know if
Absolute bangers.
Do they still sell bangers?
Well, I would have thought it's a very Terry Time warp, isn't it?
It
The
was
banger.
the most minimalist of the fireworks. It just went bang, and that was it.
Sort of, I associate it
flash.
very much with the wooden football rattle. I mean, you don't see the banger these days.
Anyway, yeah, so I'm woken up. If I'm woken up at home, it's often by a sense of a display. You can hear it. Anyway, this was so loud. It felt like it was in the street. So the next morning at breakfast, a guy said to me, I said, excuse me. I said, excuse me, for any children listening. I said, those fireworks, is that a normal Saturday night thing? He said, no. He said, sorry about that, sir. He said, the Liverpool team are staying here at the moment.
You are joking.
He said, and we think it was Everton fans trying to wake them up before the local derby.
No.
Yes, that's happened for other matches, hasn't it?
That
reminds
doesn't
me-
sound like Everton, but
Well, in the 1970 World Cup, when the England players were in Mexico, they used to get one of those mariachi bands outside. They used to get that outside their hotel at 3 or 4 in the morning.
well,
So again, a grand old tradition, waking up the team in the middle of the night.
I've heard that there are some other breakfast show hosts that do that to you, Frank,
Oh,
in the Hampstead area. I'm just
Yes.
saying.
Yeah, but to be fair, they are in
some-
bed with me.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So the
sorry.
fireworks.
Yeah, so the fireworks. So I didn't get to the bottom of the mystery if it was Everton fans, but it was a 0-0 draw, the thing. So you could say it worked quite well. But
I like an Everton fan, an Evertonian being called mischievous.
Yeah. So I was. My tour manager was there, and he'd been at breakfast when the Liverpool team had suddenly emerged en masse.
oh yeah.
And they went out of the hotel just in their street clothes, not dressed as, Liverpool.
Right.
I'm sorry to interrupt. What are the street clothes? I'm assuming very expensive
Well, it was
tracksuit,
a bit drizzly, so there was a few hooded tops actually up.
Right.
probably 1,500 quid a piece.
Yeah, so they turned right and they went round the block, which takes about 10 minutes max, and then they come in. So they come in the other direction, and then they went into a little room for like a conflab, as they used to call it.
Oh, yeah.
And that was, but why do
I'm
that?
so excited. Who did you spy
to
then? All
do
of
a
them?
walk around.
Was Mo there? Big Mo?
But why would they do it? Apparently, Mo was very, very. He was very nice to the autograph waiters,
Was he?
which I always judge a man on his on that.
Oh, he seems a nice boy.
But I wonder if they've got something, that they. Apparently, they urinated on every lamppost, and I wonder if it was a territorial. No, they did. No, I made that bit up. But it's such a weird. Why would you do a little short walk like that before your morning?
Do you think it's like...
They actually went for a Sunday morning
went for a
constitutional.
stroll.
In the age of super training and sports psychologists, they went for a Sunday morning constitutional.
Not a
Who's
jog
the-
or anything.
No. Maybe it's like a superstition that they never turn left on a match day. So in order to they had to go around the block to get into
They're all
that
right when
room.
they're at home, but what if they're lost in London for an away
Oh,
game?
yeah. And
What
also,
if
what
they-
about on a plane? I mean, they've got to turn
Yeah.
left on a plane. Let's
I
face
think
it.
so.
Do you think maybe it's that they're like... Who was that writer years ago that used to walk out of their front door, fully dressed, and walk round their house and into their back door and up to the room that they wrote in? Almost like a journey to work to separate
Sounds like Frank
the
Skinner.
man from the
Oh,
artist.
I've never.
I
heard
wish I could remember who it was.
Was it
now.
Milton?
Might have
He
been.
was
It
blind.
might have been Lord.
It wasn't Milton.
Okay. We better not end on that. I read about a scientist who, when he went and did a bit of writing, because they write, they use words
yeah.
as well as the numbers. Not many. They're mainly numberish and drawings they like.
They like drawings, yeah.
But he
And
did a bit of
graph.
He did a bit of proper writing as well. And when he did that, he used to. So if he thought I'm going to do some science writing today, he'd get up and he'd put a suit and tie on because he thought such was the importance of his
nice.
work that he felt he had to do it formally dressed.
Fair enough.
Excellent.
Frank, can I share a quick fish and chip shop observation?
You can.
Morning, Frank, Alan and Emily, the author. With reference to your comments around award-winning fish and chips and pies, the same can be said for when outlets claim to be the oldest. Not in this studio, no one's claiming that.
Okay.
I found a fish and chip shop near Covent Garden that claimed to be the third oldest fish and chip shop in London. Somehow this has far more credibility. Now, what does that remind you of, Frank?
It reminds me of at Blackpool Tower, a plaque that says the 122nd highest standing tower in the world. I'm more impressed at that than the first, though. The first tallest.
When I had a brief encounter with Britain's third richest man.
It's so good. Those are the people. That's why I named my son Boz. I didn't want to go straight to the top. First man on the moon, second man on the moon. They're the interesting people.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. Surely not. There must be some mistake.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with the comedian Alan Cochrane and the popular author Emily Dean. You can text the show on 81215. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio. Email the show via the Absolute Radio Webby.
We've had a missive in from Dave in Margate. I recently saw a bakery which claimed it was the oldest Cornish pasty maker in the country. It was in Herne Bay, Kent.
But that can't be in Kent, can
Sounds
it?
like a pork pie to me. Thank you, Dave. Excellent work.
It can't. The oldest
Well, good point.
Cornish
Yeah.
pasty can't be in Kent.
Well, I don't even think you need to finish that sentence. I mean, we know.
Well, hang on. They
weird-
did say they
Oh.
claimed it was the oldest Cornish pasty maker, so maybe it's like a
Oh.
gadget. You know, like you get an ice cream maker or a pasta maker at the back of the cupboard.
When I first used to come down to London and do gigs from Birmingham, I remember a comic saying to me, "Have you been to Brick Lane and seen the donut making machine?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, I thought there was some like avant-garde band, and it was like a metal spike, and you go into the shop and they get the donuts out the oven. These are not the donuts with the hole in; they're like, the round.
Oh yes, yeah. Oh, is this how they put the jam in?
And
Frank?
they put it on a spike and pull a lever, and the jam, like a hypodermic needle, goes into the centre of the thing.
Oh, I love that.
Do you know, I had a friend who once worked in a factory, and he said they get good at messing around with the kit.
Well, Frank worked in the factory.
And he,
Yes.
but he worked in a donut factory,
Oh,
and he
okay.
said they knew that they could put in like too much jam and just stop at the point before it would explode, and then send it out into the world.
But if you work for,
Fun.
I'd love an exploding jam donut. You'd feel so happy, Frank. You 1 out of every 10. I would imagine the look on the faces
Brilliant.
and the jam.
I haven't heard one of those stories for years when someone at a car factory put like a fish in the door panelling. Used to be those practical joke things.
Yeah.
Or someone would get sacked from a company and they'd phone the speaking clock in Tokyo and leave the phone off the hook all weekend.
I hated that it was
bill
called
up.
Tim. They just took E off the end of it.
No, that was rubbish. Yeah.
The other one, of course, that was meant to be the ultimate revenge on an ex, was that you would sew prawns into the curtain hems.
Oh, yes, I've heard that one.
Now,
so.
who can be bothered with that?
I know. Who's going to start
Cotton
sewing?
and thread over.
I don't know about you. When I'm heartbroken and outraged, the last thing I want to do is needlework.
Yeah.
Also, if you were ever going to have a look within yourself moment, I think it would be kneeling at the hem of the ex's curtain, sewing prawns in with the juice going all over your clothes.
Absolutely pathetic.
It'd be a real thimble of your despair, wouldn't it?
And what would I?
Oh, ow. What if they walked in, Al, and saw you as well?
Wouldn't you? Don't
You'd
need
never
that.
recover.
Just those terrible, those horrible black eyes that prawns have. Those looking at you admonishingly. Oh, how disgusting! Oh my God!
Do you think prawns have got awful eyes, haven't they?
Even worse is their posture. They're
bad
so
posture.
hunched.
Really,
Prawns.
they need some Alexander technique.
They
don't
do. I mean, they are. The way they sit it's disgusting. It's such a bad influence on children.
Indeed.
Frank Skinner on the radio.
Frank, I would like to talk about World Book Day because I had an eventful one. First of all, I had two things I'd like to talk about. Firstly, I had a bit of a huge honour because my friend's daughter decided to dress up as me on World Book Day.
Oh,
My friend Catherine's daughter, Violet,
Yeah.
I was sent a picture of her wearing giant black sunglasses, tick,
Yeah.
huge sweeping pink coat,
Great.
very me.
Right.
I think you'll agree.
I didn't know you could go as authors as well as characters.
Well, exactly.
Because for the memoir, it works, doesn't
I
it?
suppose it does. Yeah, of course.
She had she had Gucci trainers, respect, and the dog,
Brilliant.
her dog, had a long hairpiece attached to its collar to
seem like
look
your
like
dog.
my dog Ray, who, as you know, is quite hirsute.
Yeah.
So like a dog in a wig.
Yes.
Brilliant.
So, but what this made
Dog
me think
in a
of
wig, my
was
friend.
why do we stop World Book Day when we become adults? Because, for example, I would love to see Frank as Samuel Johnson with the white wig,
There's something, you'll see that soon.
holding a dictionary.
There's something tragic about World Book Day. It's like, that.
Do you think so?
it's like
Why?
The fact that books need that.
I know.
Right.
For people to. Do people think, World Book Day, I might try one of them books?
Good point.
Well, I think also it's because they're very loose with the definition of book. I mean, there's a lot of films going in there as well. Let's be
Indeed.
honest. But I like that idea of adults have to dress up because it would be more challenging if you
Yeah.
went as Kafka, and everyone lies and says their favourite book is by Tolstoy, but you're meant to go as the character from the book. But then if it was Moby Dick, you wouldn't go as the whale.
Yeah.
I don't know who I'd.
You'd go Samuel Johnson.
Yeah, but again, I know he's a character, but if it's from a fiction book,
Yeah.
You want to be someone. Again, I don't want to be Sherlock Holmes. I'd rather be Dr. Watson. But would people know Dr. Watson?
You just have a suit on. They just think you had a suit on. You could be Alan in Treasure Island. That's who you could be,
That
Frank.
would be good.
Surely that should be me.
Noel Edmonds' favourite book, by the way, I know, is Jeremy Clarkson's Born to be Riled.
Is that
Yeah,
right?
I read that
Is it
recently.
really?
That was the other thing. I saw that
I tell
on
you what, that is
World
a
Book
great
Day.
title, though.
They had a list
Born
of
to be
people's...
riled. I like that a
Yeah.
lot.
They had adults' favourite books I read, and...
Adolf's favourite book.
Adults. God, you've got them on the
Mein
brain. Adults'
Oh,
favourite
adults.
books.
Okay.
Not
Sorry.
Adolf. We've had Lord Hawthorne and Adolf. Okay.
It's not even a theme show. It's just-
Oswald's coming up soon, later on the show. But yeah, I was really... I enjoyed that, reading that was his favourite book, Born to be
I
Riled.
find when I've seen, I saw a whole collection of celebrities talking about their favourite books.
Oh, yeah.
And Wind in the Willows was far and away the winner.
Was it?
Yeah. But I thought, not what's the last book I've read. Yeah, they waxed lyrical, as
they loved
say,
it.
about Wind in the Willows.
Right.
They love Wind in the Willows. Frank, I also had a bit of an unfortunate incident when I was promoting my book. I was a bit rude to someone.
Brilliant.
Well, I felt...
Well, accidentally.
You know what I actually found myself thinking? I thought that was really gittish. And
Can't wait till Saturday.
yes, I did. I thought, I want to tell Frank, because I know, even though I've behaved appallingly, there is one person who will back me up on this behaviour.
Well, let's see. What happened?
Yee.
Do you want to hear about it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I was doing a radio interview and I took Ray with me. Sometimes they ask me to bring Ray. And-
Ray is...
sorry, Raymond's my dog.
Yes. What kind of dog is it?
He's not
Shih Tzu,
in
is
the
it?
kinks, yeah. Shih Tzu.
Yeah.
And the person who greeted me, you know, there's a person who greets you sometimes when you go
Yeah.
to these things.
Talent handler.
Exactly.
Wrangler, I think they say,
Oh,
don't
do they?
Yeah.
Wrangler. Great, Jean. She said, I was holding Ray, and I said, oh, hello, this is Ray. She said, oh, I'm afraid I'm not a big fan of dogs.
Okay.
And I thought, well, yeah, I mean, she seemed lovely, but it's a tough opener
Yeah.
when I'm holding a Shih Tzu.
Yeah.
Okay? I've got a Shih Tzu in my hand.
Especially since it wasn't a, you know, if she's the talent wrangler, she's not supposed to have opinions.
Good point. Or if they are, she's supposed
I mean,
to take them directly from the talent.
I
and
knew
just
you'd
make
be
them
with me
hers.
on this.
Exactly.
So anyway, then I responded in what I feel was a very direct, calm, measured way.
Did you throw Ray at her so he had to bring his claws out to hang on to her face?
Seek her. Right. Isn't that
Isn't
what
that
they used to say to...
They say teddy
attack
boys
dogs?
sometimes would have big pockets in their coats with a cat in, and they'd throw it at somebody's face. Like that.
I love the teddy boys. Let's go for a fight. Have you got any cats on
Yeah,
you?
walking down the road heavily laden with your cat pockets overflowing.
Frank, who wants to know?
Yeah, I'd like a jacket made, mate. Can you put a cat pocket on the inside?
So anyway, I said to this woman after she said, yeah, I'm not really a fan of dogs. There was a lady standing by the lift, and I paused, and I said to the woman, they're a bit like humans, only nicer.
Oh.
So take it how you will. Maybe it's a joke, maybe it's not directly aimed at you, but
Yeah.
I said it. The woman standing by the lift said, yes, I agree. Now, I don't agree. I don't actually believe that.
No.
But I said
Certainly
it
not
solely...
the devil dogs.
Well,
really.
quite.
No.
There are some lovely humans and some terrible dogs, but I wanted to make that point in a passive-aggressive way.
I don't think that's too bad, though, 'cause it wasn't aimed at her directly, I don't think.
Okay.
It sounds more like sort of spontaneous philosophy.
OK, well, we're not done yet.
Oh, great.
Oh, no. Shall we have a break here, because the producer's looking anxious on the clock. So this is part one
Yeah.
of the response. Part two to come.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We're on a cliffhanger about
Oh, yes.
Emily Dean's
Gittishness.
gittishness.
Oh,
I learned from the best, Al.
I must say, by the way, on the subject of World Book Day, when I was on about not aiming too high,
Yeah.
that my son went to school as Ron Weasley.
Excellent.
Love it.
Which is that's the key. Don't be Harry Potter. Be the mate.
Well,
Next.
it's a bit like Fancy the Drummer, which was always my policy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, I say that, still treat you just as badly, really.
Or fancy David Baddiel in the Newman and Baddiel days.
Oh, come on.
I think
I
that,
told
that
you,
was-
I always think I preferred Baddiel.
I know, but that's because
Why?
that was seen as the sort of, the less obvious
You're
choice.
suggesting I was virtue signalling by liking
Yes.
David Baddiel.
I think so. I
That's-
think you were
I
saying
think
it's
that's
like
exactly what's been suggested.
it's like when one hears people say, I was going to say women, but I don't know if you can you still say women.
Can you check, please? I give
when they
you
say, I like-
authority.
I like it's funny. Funny. That's what's important for me in a man.
Well,
Not-
work for you,
yeah,
all right,
yeah,
love.
yeah.
Not looks. The times I've been dumped for some humourless hunk.
Oh, well. At least it hasn't infected you in any way.
There's a quote I used to use quite a lot. Do you remember a film called Barfly with Mickey Rourke?
Oh, I do remember
it. Was based on the
And
writings.
Faye Dunaway, was it?
Yeah, based on the writings of Charles Bukowski.
Was it?
And there's a bit where she leaves him for this sort of more obvious, good-looking and honky bloke. You know those sort of blokes, Al?
Yeah, I know that's.
I like the balanced way in which Frank says that.
And the character says, who's been dumped, says, "Oh, anyone but not Eddie," with his obviousness and his unoriginal macho energy. So fantastic. I've used that line a few times.
Have you? Oh, Frank.
Anyway.
Out of you and David, then, who was the obvious one?
I know. Then I think I became the alternative choice.
Oh, with you and David?
Yeah.
Text in on 8 12 15. No, don't. The dog handler, Frank.
Yes.
Oh yes.
So, well, she was a talent handler.
So you're waiting for a lift.
I'm waiting
and
for the lift. I've
you've
already
been
said-
a little snarky.
I've been a little snarky just by saying dogs, they're like humans, only nicer. Mm-hmm. As we go into the lift, I thought, well, I don't want to address her again, but I understand where Frank comes from. I don't know whether it's an age thing or I can't let it go these days. I can't just leave it. So I get into the lift and I'm holding the dog and I say, and she gets in with me and I say, "Hello, sorry, I've got a dog, so if you're not a fan of dogs, look away now."
Oh dear.
I mean, it's
You
over
weren't
the top, Frank.
You weren't letting it go.
No,
Were you
and
in
the
a
people
lift
in
with
the
her at this
lift are
point?
bemused because it's a crowded lift. They're thinking, why is she got that
Did
odd
she look away
tone
from
in
you?
her voice? No,
Did she just turn her back on you like...
no. To be fair to her, I think she was unmoved. I think it was lost on her. I think she just thought I was a funny woman and was saying odd things about the dog all the
Right.
time.
I always think if you take a dog into a crowded lift, there's at least 3 people who think, "Thank God I can now break wind." I'm guessing,
Yeah.
but I think the dog, because the dog's such an obvious source of gas.
I know.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that. Oh, that's good to know. That's what happened. And then I did the interview, which was lovely. Finished it, came out, and it was fine. She was nice. Everything was sorted. And I had to get the last slam in, Frank.
Great.
A man came over, and
You
he
bit
was.
Reached into his cat pocket.
I lifted up my leg. No, I didn't. And I said, when she was standing there, and he petted Ray, and I said, "Oh, how lovely! You're obviously a dog person." I mean, come on, Frank. It's just it was 3. It was 3 slams.
Yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
thinking probably that they probably all went over the head. Do you?
Yeah.
Do you think so?
Oh yeah, I think if someone is, I think some people. I'm very, I am, a bona fide snowflake. I'm one of Britain's oldest snowflakes.
Are you,
I am. I'm
having
very
that.
sensitive to remarks and criticism of all kinds, but I think there's a lot of people where they wouldn't have even picked up on it.
Why? Can I ask you a question?
If I was you, I'd send an admonishing letter.
Why can't we let it go, Frank?
Well, we should let it go.
Okay.
I think letting things go. I once went to accidentally, actually, I didn't go to a lecture. I was going to say I went to a lecture about meditation. I was once sitting in a dining room and a man came in and gave a lecture about meditation that I wasn't expecting.
Oh, nice.
And he said he got to a level of meditating where he cut someone up in his car accidentally. And this great brutish man got out his obviousness, his unoriginal macho energy, and started really swearing and pointing and banging on the window at this bloke. And the bloke said, I just meditated.
Wow.
And I wasn't I could hear the noise, but I wasn't really aware of what he was saying.
Yeah.
Right.
And I thought, that's a gift.
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
it?
Yeah. We need to be more like that man.
Sounds like
Frank.
he got a hiding after it, but that's...
No, I don't think he got. I think he just drove into oncoming traffic. He was still meditating.
Frank Skinner on the radio.
What we need is a vinegar manufacturer to send vinegar in, don't we, to go with the salt in the...
Oh, I'd
in
love that. Do you know I love vinegar?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do you?
But you mean real vinegar for chips, or do you mean like apple cider vinegar, like a...
No, I mean Sarson's.
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
a brand named. Sorry about
You
that.
did brand
Don't say vinegar, say Sarson's. That used to be that was their slogan.
Yeah. We've had Daniel Skipsey, who's occasionally a regular.
Skipsy!
Occasionally,
I
right?
don't know why I did that. Just felt appropriate.
Frank's all worried about occasionally a regular, which I admit is a little strange. Daniel Skipsey has said, my friend's daughter wasn't sure who to go to school as on World Book Day, so I suggested she could be Rebecca and not turn up at all, which is a lovely, sophisticated literary joke there, which I
Would
appreciate.
that be Rebecca of Sonnybrook Farm?
I assumed it was Rebecca, as in the Daphne du Maurier novel, where she is the deceased wife who is a ghost.
Very
spoiler.
good.
Well, she starts off a ghost, to be fair. She doesn't get murdered
That's
throughout.
very good. No one ever goes as the woman who sets fire to the house in Jane Eyre.
No.
Oh,
know that-
Rochester's wife, is it?
Yeah, it's that thing of... it's a different. They had a different approach then to mental illness. She's locked in a room at the far end of the house and sets it on fire.
That is a different approach, you're right.
It is, and let's face it, it's not as good as the modern one. Yeah. But he got his comeuppance because the house went down, and house insurance then was in its infancy. Mm-hmm. So I'm
Virtually
guessing.
non-existent. I mean, the policies were terrible, then, I would
Just
imagine.
worth thinking about.
Do people go as Jane Eyre, I wonder?
I don't know. I think
Bit of a boring-
because it's a kid, as you say,
Oh,
it
yeah.
hasn't gone into adulthood.
No. Well, it should do. That's all I'm saying.
We've also got
Alan could get his
feedback.
kung fu jacket out.
Feedback. Dickens' writing instrument. Hi all. Dickens would have used a fountain pen, which
Yes.
became popular in the 19th century.
Yes,
that right?
that makes sense.
That is the sort of stuff this show is all about.
Now, I bet
Can I get a witness?
I bet you that there is some of Dickens' fountain pens are probably at the British Library or something like that.
Yes, I suspect so.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
I enjoyed Alan reading a text out about Dickens' fountain pens, followed by "Can I get a witness?"
Yeah.
which is an extraordinary juxtaposition of words.
I enjoyed it, certainly.
Okay.
There was hold on, I'm being pressured. I mean, the time pressure this morning has been absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I can't live like this.
We just have ultimatums every 3 minutes.
Exactly. Here we go then. Brace yourselves.
Frank Skinner on the radio.
I feel like we should discuss the Queen, who has put a picture up on Instagram this week.
It's a new convert like Frank.
Always copying me.
You think?
Well, she started Twitter in 2014, which is, I think, a similar time to when the show
Queen
started.
started Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
she
that
did.
guy Jack Dorsey.
She didn't start. Jack Doe. She.
He loves a bird. He's from the
That's what
90s.
it's called.
Legend.
Jack Doe. Is that why they called it Twitter? Because it's invented by Jack Doe.
See. No,
Could be though,
Do
couldn't
you
it?
know,
Don't think
it
so.
might be.
I think it's called Twitter because
It would be tenuous and disappointing, but it might be.
I don't think it would. I'd be happy with that.
apparently it's
Jack
called
Doe.
Twitter because birds sing about what they're doing right now, and that's what it was meant to be. It's like micro-blogging of what you're doing right now. So really, I think
Is that what birds sing? Do they say, I am on
I'm on a
flying
telegraph
into a
pole.
tree?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I
I'd love to hear that.
I heard
think so, yeah.
geese. I think at the time I was applying underarm deodorant this morning,
Oh yeah.
Lynx?
and I heard, no, I didn't need one, and I heard geese. You know, a V formation of geese went
yeah.
over, and whenever you hear them, so they went over going, oh, oh,
Yeah.
oh, oh, And I thought, that all the time. I felt like one of them was going, I can't fly. I forgot that. You're all right. Steve, you're all right. You can. Oh, God, I can't fly. Oh, Steve, you're fine. Honestly, you're fine. That's what it felt like.
Can I say that was a bit like growing up with actors, to be honest? But Frank, I'm fascinated to know that birds talk about... Do they live in the eternal present, then?
I think so, yeah.
Well, they've
lovely
obviously
thing.
read Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now.
Yeah.
But how
mindfulness
detailed?
experts.
How
apparently.
detailed do they get about what they're doing? Oh, I'd love to hear what the birds say.
Yeah, well, crying her eyes out, of course, a lot of the time, according to Prince.
Oh, yeah.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Yeah.
The Queen.
Quick.
Queen,
Twitter.
and what I'm saying is the Queen is just one step behind us. We do Twitter, she does Twitter.
She's
We do
copying you.
Instagram, she does
She's copying
Instagram.
you.
Well, she did the sort of
So
Instagram...
I'm going on Grindr tonight. We'll see how long that takes.
We are in the local area. She did the sort of post that I have to say I think you would do if you had your way, Frank, which was she posted a letter from the 19th century written by Charles Babbage.
From
She put a photo
What I love about
on Instagram of an old letter. It's like a sort of house of cards, house of mirrors of communication, isn't
But
it?
what I love about it, it's like
So
a
weird.
big moment that the Queen is doing Instagram, and so she basically she does a letter from 1843. She's adopted a sort of a softly approach to advancing technology.
I think she should have put a selfie up and called it Onestagram.
Yeah. Oh, come on.
That's very good.
Well, that's the thing. She doesn't get writers in, though.
She's not
better
thought
than
of
that.
it.
How?
I'd have liked
thought of
it.
it.
I'd have liked it. Yeah, get ready for this one.
Yeah.
I'd have liked it.
Here we go.
If somebody said you should put a hashtag on the thing, and then she'd have gone, oh, hashtag. And relax.
What would be very meta is if hashtag started trending. So the letter was from Prince Albert, who I know you're a fan. You're a fan of his work, Frank.
Prince Albert.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
Oh dear.
Oh my goodness me.
But what I loved about it was that she made the whole process so
Great.
ladylike, and I think we can all learn something from how to use Instagram. She had a glove, a long black evening glove, which she took off when she pressed send. She took
Did
the
she
glove off.
really?
Oh.
Now, what she should have invested in are the
gloves that you can use
The ones when you can
gadgets.
take the end of the
with
thing.
a sheer panel.
Yeah.
They probably don't do those in long,
In evening
like,
gloves.
in evening gloves.
Black silk evening glove. She took the evening glove off and she gave it a little shake, and then she pressed send.
I can't see a person in a long glove and not think of the witches, the Roald Dahl things. She thinks she then took a wig off.
I always
and-
think of all creatures great and small. She does all her own birthing
Yeah.
at Balmoral.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. Surely not. There must be some mistake.
Whatever, this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with the comedian Alan Cochrane and the author Emily Dean. You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio. Email the show via the Absolute Radio website.
Can I ask a question? We were talking about the Queen sending her first Instagram post complete with black velvet evening glove
Yeah.
recently, and she sent, in case anyone wasn't listening before
I
the
think
hour.
she had done it. She works with an East European puppetry group on Tuesday afternoon, so she'd probably come straight from there.
Well, it's funny you should say that, Frank, because I have a question for both of you with regards to the velvet curtain for the commemorative stone unveiling. She did a bit of unveiling, I noticed, while she was there, and it said, this Instagram post was sent by, it was at the Science Museum, Her Majesty the Queen.
Oh, nice.
Why do they stick to the miniature velvet curtain, somewhat like a puppet show, for all unveilings? Because technology's advanced sufficiently that one could have an electronic screen and avoid scenarios like we had the other week where she tugged on the curtain. Never quite opens fully.
I don't think, I have to say, curtain technology is still very hit and miss.
Yeah.
I have, how many curtain cords have you pulled when it hasn't gone? It's only gone half a way. It's not pulling altogether.
Yeah.
And don't get me started on blinds.
Oh, and now when they have those little flimsy hooks and stuff like that on them, absolutely hopeless.
So why?
I mean, they can put a man on the moon.
Oh, I know.
But they But what was unfortunate for the
Allegedly.
Queen was that she pulled on the curtain. The miniature as well. Never do full length.
No,
Cheaper on the
Why
velvet.
did they do the puppet show curtain?
Have you seen the price of velvet per square metre? Come on.
My problem with this, and I think I mentioned this after I went to the launching of the William Hartnell plaque in Ealing,
Yeah.
is that everyone who turns up to an unveiling knows what's being unveiled. So they're doing it as if it's da-da, as if we're all going to go, oh, William Hartnell. God,
Yeah.
But of course you all know, so you open it and you go, yeah, that's exactly what we expected, which is the sudden open curtain is all about the unexpected.
It's a gratuitous reveal.
Why don't they just say there'll be an unveiling at Tuesday on 7:30 and leave it at that? And then you go, and then it could be anything.
Well, what I liked about the Queen, Frank, was that as the miniature curtain, the sort of borrower's style curtain got stuck halfway through, and then people sort of clapped, a few runs on the Village Green style.
Yeah.
And she got irritated. You could see, because the curtain had stuck, and she pulled it again because it was slightly obscuring Her Majesty the Queen on the stone. She didn't like that.
Well, also, she slightly built up the Charles Babbage letter in an erroneous fashion.
What do you mean?
Well, she said in this letter in which he told Queen Victoria and Prince Albert about his new invention. In fact, the letter begins, Sir. And what he's done, Charles Babbage, he's written to Prince Albert.
Great
I'm
footballers
thinking
tend to
she won't understand. What she's actually, her first ever Instagram post is an example of Victorian sexism. Is that the example we want to set
She's rewriting
on
history.
the week of World Women's Day?
International Women's Day.
Get
you're
that
right.
thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, when all the kids go to school dressed as women.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
Which is
she
fine
should.
now.
And she signed it off ER.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't sign off the
ER.
Instagram post.
That's what you say when you give someone something in the black country. Yeah. That's what she said. She probably handed it over, wrote it, and said,
Yeah.
And somebody said, "Oh, we'll put that on the end." Then.
I was glad to find out that she'd done it as part of the science thing, because I thought she'd just joined Instagram and I was
Gone rogue.
thinking, yeah, I was thinking, well, what about the people around her? I know it's a bit indelicate, but surely if she'd joined Instagram, Charles would be thinking, I've got to be honest, this is just more admin for me eventually,
Well, that's the thing.
when she's gone.
What about when?
He's trying to work out a password.
I don't think he thinks like that.
Corgi won.
What about?
That's what I
What
reckon
about
the
the
password
map?
would
I
have
don't think he should have sang about I Want to Be King, that song from The
I
Lion
just can't
King.
wait to be king.
Yeah, he shouldn't have sang that at the 92nd birthday. That was very inappropriate.
What about the
indeed.
dignitaries that stand by at these official occasions? You know what I like is they're always a bit at a loss at the end, and they talk in this tone, the tone of hushed reverence, I call it. And they say, "And over here, Your Majesty, will you
Yeah.
have this?" And then
She's 92. It ought to be. And over here, Your Majesty. Woo!
when
Yeah.
she sent the Instagram post, the man went, success.
Did he?
Yes,
Did
it was
he?
a very posh man
nice.
showing the
lovely.
Queen round.
I think he rather tried.
Frank Skinner on the radio.
I was a bit worried when the Queen did this picture on Instagram, because I honestly thought for a while that she might have joined Instagram. And I don't know if I want to live in a world where the Queen is doing all the Instagram cliches, like putting up food pictures. I've been guilty of that. Instagram's my only one. I haven't got any social media, but I put up the odd food picture. And I don't want the Queen... Like, I think we'd all
But you're
smell a rat.
Are you paleo?
No.
I imagine yours is just like a tiger's
Yeah,
diet.
just raw meat.
And it may be like 6 blades of grass.
But I think we'd all smell a rat if the Queen started putting up like Prince Charles's sausages and like hang on this a bit.
I think they might do
Hashtag sponsored post.
I think the Prince
Duchy of
Charles
Cornwall.
does a pork pie as well. There's
Yeah.
an award-winning pork pie.
What if she put up a big plate of cooked swan and then put hashtag just me then?
Oh, yeah, she would. Yeah.
That'd
Hashtag
be a
living my
problem.
best life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if she started making those Instagram mistakes that you see in the tabloids where she put up a selfie of her in a new top and then in a mirror in the background you saw she had no skirt on. I don't want that for
That'd
the
be
Queen.
terrible.
It worried me.
I'd love it if she got
Or
into
her
it.
just made a grandma sponge.
There's been another mistake.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, Trumpelstiltskin.
Always.
Yes.
Big fan of his
He
work.
loves the Trumpelstiltskin.
No, not
Chat.
quite. I just think,
He was
Careful.
chatting to Tim Cook, the Apple chief exec.
Is Tim Cook a famous person?
He is now.
The way they read about him in the paper, the way they wrote about him, it sounded like he was like a Steve Jobs. Everyone knew
I
who
think
he
that's
was.
his job now. Yeah, he's the Steve Jobs of.
But is
of
he
Apple.
is he that well known?
Um,
Should I know Tim Cook was before this story?
Oh, you be the judge of that, dear.
Okay.
I mean, I agree. I know what you mean. I think he's suddenly, he's everywhere, obviously. Angry Anderson. It's
Yeah.
a great moment there. So he was at this official meeting, wasn't he, Al, to discuss was it education, technology and jobs?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I mean, who's going to be at that meeting? Imagine
Donald
being
Trump
at that meeting.
and him.
Yeah,
and
but
a few
neither. Who
others.
wanted to be at that meeting?
Oh, I don't think many of them.
Well, you did once Donald Trump started going off topic.
Well, I'd
and
be
saying,
happy to be at a Donald Trump meeting just for the anecdotes.
Yeah.
But, oh, God.
What was great, it was meant to be quite a straightforward workforce-based meeting, and he says he thanks Tim for creating new jobs for the American workforce, and then says we want to get them legally. Though we want them legal, and then goes off on a big tangent about the border and human trafficking and stopping drugs. And
So you got to have a theme. in
I liked
life.
it when he said, Al, he said drugs has been going on for 1 million years, actually. Very, very long time.
Yeah, he always said that.
A very long
very
time.
bad,
1 million.
very-
Some
Very
of the
bad
creationists
drugs.
that he works with are thinking, hang on, 1 million?
Why does he need to tell us it's a long time? It's not. We know 1 million years is a long
No,
time.
but he's got that. When Bruce Forsyth was on, Bruce Says Play Your Cards Right, he used to
Yeah.
tell a joke at the begining.
Yeah.
He was younger then, quite a bit younger, and he used to say, right, I was home last night, and I was having a cup of tea, so I was at home. And I was having this cup of tea, so that's me at home having tea. And it was like such a distrust of the audience that it was like, do you get it? Do you actually get? Okay, before I do the punchline, and it's a bit like that. So and this it's a very bad event. It is bad, really bad. This is a bad. And you think, all right, Donald, we get it. I think he knows his crowd, and
Yes,
he feels
they
you
like to deal
really
in
have
superlatives.
To,
Yeah.
you have to make it totally clear. But it is one of my favourite bits, those. Have you seen Matt Ford's Donald Trump impression?
Oh, it's extraordinary.
Yeah, and Matt Ford, who does rock and roll football on Absolute Radio.
Very talented man.
And he
Very, one of the
does
most
a
talented
brilliant.
men.
And the best bits is when he does that. You're very, very much those bits at the end. I love
Also,
him
the
for that.
pronunciation of people. He says people in a certain way.
Does he?
Very terrible people.
We haven't actually said the mistake that Trump
Oh,
made.
sorry.
Well done.
Go for it.
Shall we do a cliffhanger?
Oh,
Yeah.
if you like.
Okay. What did Trump do wrong? Find out soon. That could be quite a long article. And also sounds a bit more salacious than it's actually going to be.
Frank Skinner on the radio.
Well, I'd like to share a communique I've had from a Mr. D. Badil.
Oh, yeah.
You may recall, Frank, earlier on the
Is it
show...
related to Osher Badil?
I don't know, but earlier
Okay.
on the show, you were talking about... well, perhaps I feel safer if you put it in your words, to be honest. It was
Well, I
to
was
do with the
talking about
aesthetic
that.
appeal of yourself and David.
Well, it was about being the sort of the other one in life, like being Buzz Aldrin rather than Neil Armstrong.
Yeah.
And I said that when David Baddiel and me got together, then people, I think I became the sort of alternative choice.
The drummer.
Whereas when he was with Rob Newman, he was the alternative choice. So it's all relative.
Okay.
Yeah.
David.
It's like Danny Minogue, if you like Danny Minogue better. Yeah.
Okay.
I did. Yeah, you're right.
David has said that an early gag of yours, as in Frank Skinner, when you started working together, was this. It must be nice for Dave to be the handsome one for once.
Yeah, well,
discussion point, perhaps. Who is the target of that joke? Text in on 81215.
Well, that is a great philosophy problem.
Alan Cochrane, who would you say is the target?
I think they both
Who's
are.
the victim?
It's Frank's taking a scattergun approach to his targeting it now.
No, but
He's taken them all down with him.
I would say that you need some extra information here. That Rob Newman, who Dave worked with previously, was a very handsome
Yes.
man.
You go on about
I
this.
didn't need
but
that extra information, though. But
Yeah, okay. I think,
all I would say...
yeah.
I mean, I'm just analysing who comes out of this worse. And you're saying Dave was the handsome one for once, but you are suggesting you've never been the handsome one. So at least, in the rock, paper, scissors, stone or whatever, you come out of it worst. Okay?
Yeah. I don't know if I've never been the handsome one.
Oh, no, I've taken it too far.
When I had that upstairs flat at Notre Dame...
Can I say I think you are a very handsome man?
Well, you can say it.
It matters very little to you.
No, I don't care
What
about
you care about is being funny.
Indeed.
But, you still got it.
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, when you're a double act, you are funny together, but you can't be handsome together.
no.
You can be ugly together. That's what we discovered.
Yeah.
Some comics say you can't be good looking if you're a stand-up. What do you boys say?
That's
Well,
changed.
Alan got in quickly.
If Laurel and Hardy had looked like Bros, would they have been as funny?
Bros went.
Well, they're absolutely hilarious, but that's another story.
Henry Normal, who is a sort of a, now I think you'd call him a comedy impresario.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, he was a performance poet when I was starting out. And he said to me that he thought one of the advantages I had as a comedian was I looked like I'd been kicked about a bit.
Kicked about a bit.
And
Nice.
I think that's probably true. Because whenever a good-looking person starts saying something, you think, oh, yes. Well, I do. Inside, I'm thinking, oh, yeah. No one wants to hear you. They only want to see you.
Yeah.
Whereas with me, they don't want to see me. That's why I'm on the radio. It all makes complete sense.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We've got the listenership, the crowd, on a bit of a cliffhanger about what Donald Trump did.
Yes.
Reminds me of that time I saw somebody on the bus Googling just Donald Trump. Just Donald Trump, not Donald Trump has done. Just,
Who is this guy everyone's going on about?
people keep mentioning him. I should really mug up. But, yeah, he...
with Tim Apple, yes.
He called Tim Cook from Apple.
I watched
Tim Apple.
Did I tell you I watched Home Alone 2?
And Donald Trump's in it.
Donald Trump's in it as a sort of guest, a genial guest appearance.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, there was a point when that was his shtick, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So, sorry, Al, yes, he did.
He would pop up, he had a sort of,
Yeah, he had a sort of...
Who would you compare him to?
Alan Sugar.
Yeah, so a sort of cartoon-friendly, not quite villain, but...
I suppose he was the sort of what Duncan Ballantyne used to be
yeah.
In a way.
over here.
Yeah.
So, yes. Okay.
You are my Ballantyne.
Imagine if in 20 years Duncan
Ballantyne.
Is it Bannatyne?
You know it's Bannatyne.
I think.
Okay, I'm
Or is
going
it-
Bannatyne.
No.
Did I tell you I used to have a flat opposite him? I watched him being measured up for a suit once.
Oh, like Rear
Glad
Window.
glad that's how that story ended.
Strange Alfred Hitchcock film in
Yeah.
which Frank Skinner... I mean...
Imagine if he became Prime Minister.
Bannatyne.
Yeah, if it worked, I mean, it's possible, isn't it? It worked for Trump.
Yeah,
It became.
could be. Anyway, look.
Okay, listen.
And he called Tim Cook Tim Apple, and much mirth has ensued online.
Do you think he
He said, "We're very grateful to you, Tim Apple."
Do you think he thinks of him as Tim Apple? Because he's such a company man. Do you think he actually thinks of him as Tim Apple because that's his company?
Yeah.
Well, he's had previous with
He has a bit.
Ethel from EastEnders mispronunciations.
Well, he called her Ethel EastEnders.
Yeah.
He called Benjamin Netanyahu Betanyahu.
Yeah, but that's when I misspoke.
He misspoke with Nambia as well, didn't he?
Instead of Namibia.
Yes.
He also he met the woman Marilyn Hewson from Lockheed Martin, which is a big company there, and he called her Marilyn Lockheed.
Oh, well, see, I think that's how he thinks.
Lockhead.
He's
Lockheed.
basically, he's thinking of the way people put them in their phones, as I think.
Yeah, I
somebody
think he's a
said.
big phone user.
It's like that. So I think that's...
I think he just watched that John Travolta. Do you remember when John Travolta introduced the lady from Wicked, Idina Menzel? And he said, "Would you please welcome the wickedly talented Adele Dazeem?" It was the way he was stalling for time. No, I think he said, "The wickedly talented, the one and only."
Oh, that's
and you
it.
could
When
see
you're
the
trying to
fear.
remember, awful.
Adele Dazeem.
Well, I think it's like, you know, I told you I was checked into a I was working for a production company called Liberty Bell.
Oh, yes.
And they checked me into a hotel as Frank Liberty.
Will you please welcome the wickedly talented Frank Liberty?
So it's a similar thing. They just used the first name they can.
Say what you see.
They didn't look
Just
any
looked at the
higher
letterheading.
than the heading on the notepaper. That's where they looked. Like Frank Bell would have meant much more sense.
Would have.
Frank Liberty is lovely, isn't
I'll
it?
tell you what else it reminded me of. I remember John Wayne got a sort of a lifetime achievement type.
What for? Wearing chaps?
For being brilliant. I love John
I
Wayne.
know, darling.
And it was presented by Henry Winkler. And the reason it was him is at the time Happy...
Is it Winkler? Why is it Winkler?
It's a bit German now.
It's got to be Winkler, surely.
Alan, have you ever called him Winkler?
I think it's Winkler, but I'm not sure I've said it out
What
loud.
do you call the great opera writer Wagner?
No, I don't.
Yes.
But I like him. I've never heard him called Henry Winkler.
I always call you Henry Winkler.
Isn't it wickedly talented?
But it's correct. Anyway,
Henry
Wickedly
Winkler.
talented.
they obviously got him to... They obviously got him to present it because... Because Happy Days was enormous at the time, and John Wayne came up and to get it was a big standing ovation.
Yeah.
And he said, "Thanks a lot, Fonz," and called him Fonz throughout the. He obviously had no idea he was called Henry Winkler.
Nor did Henry Winkler, to be fair.
Yeah, John Vane. That would have been actually anyone could be called John Vane in Hollywood. And he has got that vein. I don't know if you know about.
Oh, God.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. Surely not. There must be some mistake.
We should say Tim Apple, as he shall henceforth always be known, did obviously changed his name to Apple by using, for his Twitter handle, he put the Apple symbol after it. But it can only be viewed that way by other Apple operating systems.
Oh, really?
Well, there's no Apple symbol.
On Samsung or...
I think you see it
Huawei.
differently. I mean, perhaps Trump doesn't strike me as very Apple. He's a bit more Windows, I think. Windows 96.
You reckon?
I'm going, okay.
I don't know, he likes a big corporation.
When
Yeah.
when
no,
Tim
he thinks
Cook,
they're a bit arty.
when
Hippie
Tim
people.
Cook switched that to the Apple logo, in the tech world, that counts as being hilarious. Like that's to them.
Yeah.
That's the funniest thing.
I think, didn't Andrea Corr do a similar, slightly more minimalist version of the Apple? Mm-hmm. And of course, the Gladys Knight's backing group.
Yes.
I took it a stage further.
I like the I love his Pips material.
It's good. It's good
I
stuff.
like the idea of the nerdy joke. It reminds me, Frank, of the Open University bloopers. And they say, I said 1.429. Sorry.
Yeah.
I meant 1.428, of course.
I'll tell you what I was thinking about, though, with the symbol thing. You know, for example, I heart, and then, like, we've got I Heart News.
Yeah.
And
Wore
you
that
can
T-shirt in bed the other night. Lovely.
the old I Heart New York and all those things.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, why didn't they go the extra mile and have a picture of an eye
Oh, yeah.
next to a heart?
Oh, a bit
And just
horrible.
speaking pretty much emojis.
It's not some weird body parts party.
Well, I mean,
come
and then
on.
when
I think that
thought
would be awful.
Yeah. I tell you what, well, I wonder if because I thought actually my eye suggestion is better than the accepted heart. Because eye does sound like eye.
Yes.
But hearts look visually appealing. Eye's a big
I know,
eye
but
with it.
it's quite a
How much
step.
of the eye would you include? Would you include?
No, it'd be symbolic, like the sort of Big Brother eye.
Yes.
It's still not very good looking. The
I
eye.
get what you're doing. I
I'd be
get
happy.
it.
I'd be happy with it. And
I mean,
the heart, you know, it's
Doesn't...
touch and go. It doesn't mean love.
No.
no.
I wonder if other internal organs were considered.
Well, wasn't love coming from somewhere else not that long ago, like Shakespearean times? It came from the liver or the something.
What
Are you asking the
spleen?
question?
Yes, spleen.
Are you asking the question? Where is love?
Yes.
Where
Where?
does love come from?
Does it come from up above?
I just think heart's a bit vague, that's all.
Yeah.
And I think eyes a bit ugly. Okay.
Well, speak for yourself.
Now we all know where we
I wasn't
stand.
speaking in a Cornish dialect there, by the way.
Also, there is
about myself.
I was reading Dr. Johnson's Journey to the Western Isles of Scotland.
Oh, here we
you
go.
were.
Swallowed a dictionary for breakfast.
And he
Here we go.
actually wrote a dictionary. But in it, there's a bloke who he's the laird of the island of... no, it's spelled...
I went out with him once.
It's spelled M-U-A-C-K, but commonly it was known as the island of Mock.
Right.
And then there was so many people with the same surname because the clans, or there'd be so many McDonald's or so
Yeah.
many...
Yeah.
that they used to call them according to their property. So Johnson says that in normal conversation, he was referred to as Isle of Mock. So what do you think, Isle of Mock? It was like, honestly, that was how they did it.
Excellent.
So actually, Trump is continuing that into the 21st century. So I think we have to respect him for that. And I think he's of Scottish descent, isn't he?
Yes.
It all
Can I
makes
just say,
sense in the end.
Tracy Craig has got in touch to say the eye is definitely more appealing than the real heart.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
definitely.
She's
Oh, we-
a vivisectionist.
Well, we
Tracy
used to
Craig.
cut up bull's eyes at school.
Look what you could have won,
in
though.
the bad old
Enjoy your
days.
breakfast, everyone.
And they were horrible things. But I was thinking of a more stylised eye than an actual. We don't want, we don't want aqueous and vitreous humour dribbling down.
What a
there.
way to end the show, Frank.
Well, I'm
With
glad,
humour.
Horrible words
I'm glad of
you've
any
used.
humour on this show. Anyway, speaking of this show, next week will be the 10th anniversary of this radio show.
Yay!
Can you Adam and Eve it, as they say locally? So we'll be doing some sort of special celebratory thing for that, but I think that's as yet to be revealed. I love
Wow.
a teaser. I do love a teaser. And thank you for listening to us this morning, and we'll be back for the Big 10. Next, Ben 10 will be our guest. If only we could get Ben 10, he'd be absolutely perfect. It's not as simple as that. So, yes, if the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Now, get out.
Get your weekly Frank fix. Listen to the show as it happens on Saturday morning from 8 until 11 with more music and fewer ads with the Absolute Radio app.